scoot it around. I can do that. I do play music too.
Yeah. No, I think you're good.
Almost brought you the blues harp, but I decided not to.
That would have been great. Maybe I should get an intro of you playing the harp.
Right.
I really can't express to everybody at home. By the way, welcome to Minnesota Well Done. I have one of my good friends and my mentors here, Chef Tim Glover. Of Bistro LaRue.
Yeah, nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll keep going with the shirt talk.
Yeah. No, I mean, you've done some amazing things.
Thanks.
Well, really. I mean, when I went to, I staged for one day with you, but when I went to interview you, I had already kind of known what you were about. You had Bistro LaRue. It was a little New Orleans joint out in Anoka County. And I knew that you had been you're a veteran and all that, and then when I went to interview you, you just kind of dropped all this information of all this stuff that you've done throughout your life, and I was blown away by it, still blown away by it. And when I started the show, you were one of the people that I had in mind to come on, because we can talk for hours. We have talked for hours.
Right.
I mean, being on the line, that's kind of what this show is supposed to mimic a little bit.
Sure.
I'm chopping carrots, for 6 hours, and we're just going to talk about that time you were on the oil rig and you traded shrimp for DVDs or something, So I kind of want to get started on a timeline of you. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, that's great.
So you want to just tell me about your upbringing and
oh, sure.
And we'll go off on tangents as we want.
Sure, here we go. And rein me in if I get too far out there too.
Yeah, man. I'll rein you in. I'm getting buff. I can handle it.
All right. So born in Houma, Louisiana, which is south of New Orleans, down in the Bayou country, and grew up with a lot of good seafood, a lot of good food, a lot of great recipes. Learned how to eat and cook, and had a good time with family and friends. Just different situations.
Yeah.
Cajun music, a lot of other music too. Growing up, of course, I grew up in the late '60s. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Damn, you're old, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. And then I played music.
Yeah.
And still do to this day.
Yeah.
But the home recipes and the home food and the culture has always stuck with me. Something that I wanted to do and continue to do to this day.
Yeah.
I did have a little time that I was on the oil rigs, and we there's I don't know if I told you the story. I had faked it when I was in my early 20s, like 20, 21 years old.
Like an orgasm?
No. No faking there.
No. All right.
All right. So
100% real.
Right.
Yeah. I got you.
So I had told this offshore company that I knew how to cook.
Yeah.
And I was a good cook and all of this.
Yeah.
Well, my only experience at that time was flipping burgers at Burger Chef.
Yeah.
And they don't even exist anymore. They're very old.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was a written test that you had to pass. So I knew how to make a roux and I knew how to do some of the other things. So I was able to pass the written test. But I got on the drilling rigs out there in the Gulf of Mexico. And there's some big guys there, they're roughnecks, and they're, drilling for oil and throwing iron around all day, and they get hungry.
Yeah.
Well, the day steward left me in charge. He gave me a menu to do, and, I cooked a few beans and put it in this and did a little mashed potatoes and did it over here. But here comes 65 roughnecks hungry.
Yeah.
And I had enough portions for maybe 5 plates. So these guys were ready to throw me overboard. I mean, they were making sandwiches and just pissed.
Yeah.
Because, the one thing that for sure on a drilling rig is you get paid well and you eat well.
Yeah.
So you know, it was my career was becoming pretty short, pretty quick. But the day chef, fortunately, he took me under his wings and he showed me some, you know, some tricks on a daily basis and helped me survive it. So.
Oh, I haven't heard that story.
Yeah, that was.
I haven't heard that story. I love that because that's definitely what I did.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I mean, what people will start to notice on the show, I'll be like, this was my boss. This was my boss. This was my boss. This was my boss. Because when I started, I didn't go to school for it. Right. And I mean, very much fake it till you make it in every job. Well, not every job. I mean, in the recent years, it's kind of like finally I made it, right? And like when I came to you, I was confident that I could, you know, back up everything that I was saying.
Sure.
But for a long time, it was like, yeah, you know, I've worked at this place and I had these responsibilities, but I would
expound on it.
Yeah. It's just, you know, elaborate a little bit
right.
on stuff that might not actually be true.
Sure.
And then
that's how you grow.
That's how you grow. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting that you said somebody took you under your wing.
Yeah.
Because in cooking, that's what you need.
Right.
Like I watched The Chef's Table with Magnus Nielsen.
Okay.
And he talks about how the art of cooking is dead if there's no teachers, right?
Right.
The whole point of it
Sure.
is to teach the next generation how to cook, and it's awesome to hear that from from somebody of your caliber who I've seen run a restaurant.
Right.
That's the same way you started in a different environment,
Sure.
but the same way you started, the same way I started.
Right.
I just love that, man.
Yeah.
It syncs up. So after the oil rig, or just go on with it. So oil rig, and then what? How long were you on there?
Yeah. Well, and you know, I did that for a couple of years, and there wasn't as much money in the food side as there was on the roughneck side, and I was chipper enough to go ahead and give it a smack, give it a try.
Yeah.
So I did that for, you know, a couple, 2 or 3 more years, put myself through some college. It got to be physically where it was not, you know, you could tell it was going to wear on your body and you wouldn't be able to do it for long. Yeah. So I got out of that, went to college, joined the military.
Yeah.
I got into aviation.
Okay.
That's, you know.
Yeah.
And I went about 3 or 4 years, got out, and went into civilian aviation. I didn't really get into cooking until, and I'm going to warp speed it way up. I got hooked kind of on the Food Network when that first came out. With Alton Browns and all of that. And it's just, for some reason, just, you know, it became something that I was fascinated with.
Yeah.
And and this was after 9/11 happened, and I joined the military again. And at that time, I became a military policeman. That was the only job available. And I said, well, fine.
Yeah.
Sign me up for it. I'm in, you know.
Yeah.
But I started wanting to go to culinary school.
Yeah.
And the Minnesota National Guard would pay for your school.
Yeah.
So I'm all right, here we go. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I actually was working on helicopters at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and it was my second year there, and my wife is like, what else do you do? Because I can't have you away from home. We have 5 children.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
Together, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
3 of mine, 2 of hers, you know. But so I said, well, I like to cook.
Yeah.
She goes, well, cooking it is.
Yeah.
Come on.
I love it. I can see her saying it right now. It's so awesome.
So I went ahead and signed up at St. Paul College. And graduated there. Good school, great school.
Yeah.
Enjoyed every stinking minute of it.
Yeah. I hear great things about it all the time.
Yeah. Good professors. And it was just, you know, a great experience. I worked at the Lafayette Club during the time, you know, and just after graduation, I got deployed to Iraq.
Wow. I actually didn't know that. I wasn't aware that was the timeline.
Yeah,
Go on.
Yeah. So so my passion for cooking, you know, was there. And I couldn't cook anything except a machine gun. So I did have a chance to cook for some of the Iraqis that were interpreters and the rest of the troops that were with me. From time to time, we'd gather up a bunch of stuff and they go, here, you do this. And they knew I was, a good cook.
Yeah.
And a chef at that point,
Yeah.
But so I had, several times that I did that. And then it was in me so hard when I got back. I guess a lot of that Iraqi heat and sun was baking my brain in that brain bucket.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And I'm like, no, when I get back, I'm doing what I want to do. And
I'm just going to stop you right there, because I remember a conversation that I had with you, and you were like, I remember when I was in Iraq, and I told myself I was going to be running a restaurant, and now I'm running a restaurant.
Yeah.
And that changed the way that I was looking at life at that time, because like I was kind of on the fence of like, what do I do with my life? My dignity was kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
The industry had kind of like chewed me up a little bit, and
it has a good way of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and I had been sober, I think at that time for like 2 years or close to 2 years. And I was just like, man, what do I do? And when you sat down, you're like, I did it, right? Like I did it. I mean, and at that point, you had been open for 5 years or so a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of got enamored with the way that you operated. Because I don't know if you know, right after that, we started trading audiobook ideas and like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, I really started to change some things in my life that have had serious effects. I mean, not to just like, hit you with some sentimentality, but that's the reality.
Well, that's cool.
So when you talk about that transition that you had when you were coming back and you're like, I'm going to cook, I'm going to run a restaurant, you can do it.
Exactly.
Like there's a lot of people that I know that they're just giving up on the industry.
Sure.
And that's cool. Like if you want to make that decision, like that's cool, but you can do it. There are ways to like to really come together and make it happen.
Right.
Sorry, I had to
No,
I had to go off
absolutely,
on that. Yeah.
So when I got back, I was extremely frustrated, and I didn't want to go back into working for someone else. I wanted to do my thing.
Yeah.
And I knew it was time. And we just looked around, and my wife and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe this food truck thing is really going good. Maybe we could do a food truck.
Yeah.
And we started entertaining that thought. And I just happened to be sitting in the living room and looked out the window, and we had a camper that our family had given us.
Yeah.
And I was like, we don't need a food truck. She goes, what do you mean we don't need a food truck? I said, we have one right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when it happened, man. We put it together. And sorry.
No, it's all right. It's emotional.
Yeah. So, and then, everything started coming out of there, man. I built it from, with my hands, me and my son, from scratch. We got everything. I got the credit cards, and we ran those babies up.
Yeah.
We got, kitchen. We restructured the vehicle to where it could hold a hood.
Yeah.
I knew enough about aircraft mechanics to go, okay, we need to build it strong enough, to put the exhaust on and hold the exhaust. And the hood's got to go in, and, 3 compartment sinks. And, I found out from the city, all right, what do we need to do? We need a 3 compartment sink. You need hand wash, station, blah, blah, whatever it is. I got you. Hot water heater, pumps. And you find out, and YouTube's, it'll tell you everything you need to know about building anything you want to build.
Right.
So, we cut a hole in the back of that camper, and I put doors in there, and catfish po' boys and crawfish and, boils, and everything started coming out of that truck.
Yeah.
And revenue started coming in.
Yeah.
And, we're in Minnesota where you're limited as far as months that you can run.
Yeah.
But when you run, I mean, there's times when we made tremendous amounts of money. The cash registers were so full.
Yeah.
Some of the events were that I would like to mention is the food truck fair.
Yeah.
We had lines, I kid you not, at least a full city block, if not more. And I was just, nobody look up, just keep doing what you're doing. And, just keep dropping those shrimp baskets and, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And because of the season, though, we decided to go ahead and give the bistro a shot. And then that changed our lives forever.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've been on different news, Care 11, 9 and 4, the local stations. I've been almost picked up by the Food Network twice, and back in the day.
I think I remember when you were talking about that. that would be kind of, well, that would be going full circle, right? That's what got you interested in the first place, and then you'd be on the Food Network.
Yeah.
I find it super interesting, just kind of like the progression of the way that your business, sprouted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm used to like certain types of restaurants, right? Like where they have an idea, they get investors, right? And we're going to build it to be this.
Right.
And you did it in this kind of reverse engineered way where you did everything yourself.
Right.
Like you started with the food truck, and then you got the bistro,
right.
and when the bistro started, it was like this literal sliver,
right?
I don't think I had ever been there when it was like starting out.
Strip mall, right? One shot, straight up and down, shotgun, yeah.
And then you build onto that,
right?
And then you built onto that.
One more. Yeah.
And then, and when you would go into the bistro, it was like being transported, down to New Orleans.
Right.
Really, at least.
Yeah.
That's coming from a Minnesotan's perspective, but I think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah,
you'd have bands come in, and you'd have, you'd be playing the harmonica on Saturday nights, and it was fascinating, and I think it was a jewel.
Yeah.
It was a jewel.
Yeah. And it was recorded that way several times by some of the food writers in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was a super cool experience.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what you think. Well, I guess I should ask you first if you want to talk about this, right? Do you want to talk about what you think some of the biggest obstacles were for you staying and keeping going with the bistro?
Yeah, I'm okay to talk about that.
Yeah, let's get into it because I'm interested, but also I think people at home don't realize the fuckery that goes on, like rent spikes and I don't know, the whole nine. So let's talk about some of the obstacles.
Want to do it.
Yeah,
we can do it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I think and then too, I want to say things that went on. Whether they were good or bad.
Yeah.
The end result was fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the blame could have went on me.
Yeah.
Because being a good, heartfelt chef and putting dishes out there, and I got spoiled with the food truck because I could make something and people would come and purchase it, and I got to look at them right there.
Yeah.
And see that reaction.
Yeah.
And
that's magic, dude.
Oh, man, that'll rip you up, man.
Yeah.
And your head gets big.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
But that's the most fun part of it. But when you get in a bistro or in a restaurant, it's not always, you can't always see that unless they come up to you and bravo, you
Yeah.
know, or let you know,
Right.
you don't get to see that. Your wait staff gets to see it, or, you know, someone else, but for the majority of the time, you don't get to enjoy that.
Right.
But okay, as a chef, a manager, an owner, I should have doiled out a lot more responsibilities and not tried to put.
It all on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to learn that. They need to know you can't do it all, you
Yeah.
know? And you might know your cuisine and you might know, you know, how you want it. But if you don't teach other people to do it,
It's no good.
yeah, and you won't last, man.
That's a good point.
You'll burn out.
Yeah. Let's stay on this subject. We're
Yeah.
going to take a quick break.
All right.
And then we'll get right back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's get into it. So we were talking about a little bit, you got to teach other people to do what
Right.
you were doing.
Right.
And I mean, I can't agree more. I think
Right.
that one of the biggest things, I talked about this with my current co-host, Salel. One of the biggest skills to have in a kitchen is being able to tell people what is actually happening when you're cooking, right? Mm-hmm. Like my big thing. You've seen me talk about cooking, right? Like,
Right.
I'll be like, well, when an emulsification is happening, basically it's the chains, and you're whipping the air into it, and you're making it so that it's a saturated carbon instead of an unsaturated carbon. And I'll sit there and I'll talk to you for the whole day if I need to teach you how to do
Right.
it. But on a level that you're talking about, I think it's really it's even more important.
Right.
Like to have that hierarchy of people that are dealing with all
Sure.
these different things, and then your mind doesn't get bogged down and you can focus on the things that are really important.
Sure.
And what made it profitable to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that some people out there, they talk about cooking like that magic that you were talking about. That's also what made you money.
Right.
Right? Like
right.
those things are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
And
right.
so like so that you can continue to focus on that, there just needs to be balance and help and
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
and so so you're thinking that is one of the main things that eventually kind of wore you down and burnt you out.
Yeah. Indeed. And we were fortunate, though. We got out before the COVID-19
Fiasco.
epidemic or whatever. We got out a little before that.
Yeah.
I actually wound up selling my truck before that.
Yeah.
That was a miracle.
Yeah.
Total miracle.
Yeah.
Even more, we actually sold the truck to someone from Basra, Iraq, is exactly where I was at.
Wow,
Yeah.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that because I was there
Yeah.
when you sold it.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's special, man. Yeah.
Just, it's mind blowing. I wow.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to help them along, but they're a little bit slow on getting things. I was like, you got it. Season's short, and you can't stress enough, to some people. Look, you got to go. When you're ready to run, you just bought a truck.
Yeah.
It's time to go.
Yeah.
Find out what it is and make some magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out there. I
Yeah.
mean, that sense of urgency needs to be everywhere in your life now.
Yeah.
I mean, you are okay. You woke up. All right. There's urgency.
Yeah.
Right?
We when we first started the truck, we didn't run downtown Minneapolis or anything. We rented a spot across from the fair, the Minnesota State Fair.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was a bust. It was a total bust.
Yeah.
I had huge line pans of etouffee and jambalaya.
Yeah.
I mean, deep hotel pans full.
Yeah.
And we had 4 people show up the whole day. So that's burnt food. Gone. Gone. Not burnt, literally.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean.
Can't use it.
Can't use it.
It's over.
Yeah. And I had staff on the truck, and if people are going into the fair, they're going in to eat. I couldn't even give away beignets on the side of the sidewalk when people were going in. They're like, oh, I was like, what's wrong with these people? But
They were saving room.
well, or just scared, I guess. You know, what are
Yeah.
you approaching me with free food for?
Yeah.
You know,
Lunatic.
but it just so happened that the neighborhood, all the guys and gals that were parking cars in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
found out about the cuisine and the food, and they were just all over us, and they bailed us out. So we wound up, you know, doing pretty good. And then I was then able to learn how my generator works with my food truck. So it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, portions, you got to kind of hold off. You don't put all of your food in, you know, in the steamer table until you know, maybe hold it somewhere else and then bring it out, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then once you start knowing the numbers and, you know, also when it rains, not a lot of people coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's interesting that you talk about the systems, because that was one thing that I noticed when I got to your place is you were one of the most skilled chefs that I've ever seen at knowing exactly how much of everything you were going to sell.
Yeah.
I mean, like day to day.
Right.
You were like, no, I only need,
XYZ.
I only need 4 hotel pans of jambalaya and 3 hotel pans of etouffee today, and then you had it set up so there was like there's the Monday tradition of the red beans and rice,
yeah.
and I mean, and we'd fly through that, and
Right.
you'd have it all. I mean, it was really well done. I mean, it was
Thank
really
you.
well
Yeah.
done. I got to give it up to you.
Yeah. But after you've done it for numbers and numbers, then that's something that you learn and you say that's it. We're not going any further. It doesn't do any good to hold it. It doesn't good. We're wasting it after that, and then, or hey, you guys take it home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what a pleasure that was. It was almost instinct,
Yeah.
and that was fun. That was really great fun. Of course, you learn the hard way, and we had a lot of fun dabbling with just different ideas. And I used to love to doyle things out to you guys and see if you could come up with things. Do you remember that?
Oh man,
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
It was definitely a place I got to. What I call it in the industry is play.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Right.
I got to play.
Right.
At the bistro. I mean, honestly, this is for people at home. I mean, this is just, dude, so much praise for you allowing me to do this on Greek Easter.
Right.
You gave me the whole menu.
Yeah.
You're like, do whatever you want. I mean, and I think it went
Yeah.
awesome. It turned out really well.
Yeah.
People loved it,
Yeah.
and people were like, "Ooh, what's this?"
Right.
I did pasticcio, and then I did like a special lamb sandwich.
Yeah.
And, oh man, it turned out really great. But I mean, yeah, you definitely did. You did dole out little things.
Right,
You'd be like, what can we do with this? I saw this sphere. It wasn't spherification, but it was some kind of bubble thing. And then we made a scallop dish.
Right.
And we built the scallop dish around that idea.
Right.
And it's actually I used kind of a technique from Charlie Trotter where he has one thing that he builds the plate around, right? And it's never the protein.
Mhm.
Right, so like this book has like a whole section of tomatoes, and he builds these dishes around tomatoes. And
Right.
I kind of thought about it in the same way.
Right.
Like you want us to do this, right? We can make it a beautiful color with beet. Let's make like a beet scallop dish,
Sure.
and we did. I mean, we had
Yeah.
sugar glass on it, and it was just it was great, and people loved it. And,
Yeah.
but we would do those kinds of things all the time. And
Right.
then when I went to other chefs, I could showcase that.
Mhm.
Right. And it was definitely a good mix of something that you brought up earlier of heart and mind chefs.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I consider myself today a heart chef.
Right.
But there is a lot of that mind. I really do get into it, like the science of it and the presentation and kind of like how you can just tweak techniques and you can make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
I do really enjoy that, but it all comes down to the love.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I am not necessarily the most sociable person in the world, so I don't like to say I just love human beings. But
Right.
when I cook, there's a love there
Right.
that I haven't tapped into in anything else. Like,
Right.
I love the people that are coming in and eating, and
Right.
I want them to have the best experience that they can.
That's it.
And at your place, I was able to do both those things.
Yeah, yeah. And that was on purpose, and it started out on the truck, and then it ended up, through the bistro. I mean, I still had to control the menu and make sure that we were still doing things traditional New Orleans style,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
there are several times that I would go down and stage in New Orleans for a week.
Yeah.
I went to
Which I think is fucking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Go on.
yeah.
I don't really know that many chefs that do that anymore.
Right.
Like, I have one other mentor that I've had on the show, Chad, and he went to Sicily for like a year and did that. But other than that, I don't know people who do that
Right.
anymore. It's dope.
Yeah.
Anyways, go
so
on.
the last one we did was at Commander's Palace
Yeah.
for a week, and Chef Torrey McPhail was there. He's now moved on, and they have a new chef there. He's in Montana chefing at another location, obviously not a New Orleans style location, but
Yeah.
And then another one was with Donald Link, Chef Donald Link, who's got 5 restaurants there in New Orleans. The Butcher, the Couchon Butcher,
Yeah.
and the Couchon and Herb Saint, and it goes on and on with
Yeah.
that guy. So I suspect once COVID is over that I'll be back down there again.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love to hear that. But, partially because I think this city is missing that now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's definitely missing you. Like, I could say prior to you closing, this is where you go and get, like, actual food from New Orleans, right?
Right.
Like, because for people in my circle, it's not really, we're not about getting the most creative, crazy food. We want good food.
Right.
And you had good food.
Right,
And
right.
that's, and it's missed. So it's good to hear that that's on the books.
Right,
Right.
right.
That's on the books. I
Yeah.
mean, you said something about tradition, and I've talked about it on this show prior, but I mean, really, the place that you can get American cuisine is New Orleans.
Right.
And
Right.
and it's like
Yeah.
there is no others. Like we talked about it before we started rolling, about how like Long Island kind of has that too.
Sure.
Where like it is like that melting pot.
Yeah, I
and
love
you have,
to go to New
you
York
have
and-
like
yeah.
Jewish delis
Sure.
and
Yeah.
you all of these different. I'm not super learned in all the food from there,
Sure,
but it's
right.
definitely, you could say that
Yeah.
about that as well. But New Orleans is on another level, man.
Sure,
It's on another
absolutely.
level.
It's a 300-year-old city,
Yeah.
and oh my goodness, you had West Africa, you had the Spanish, you had the French, you had the English, of course. You had the Irish. I didn't even know this until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The ships that would leave the port of New Orleans and head out to England and then come back,
Yeah.
they would, because the ships would come back lighter and they needed ballast to weigh the ship down.
Yeah.
They would load them full of Irishmen. Seriously. And if
that's
they
awesome.
passed away, they deep six them.
Wow.
If they made it,
Yeah.
they went into the port of New Orleans, and that's your side. Irishmen are over there, and that started the Irish Channel in New Orleans.
Wow.
Yeah. The biggest restaurant conglomerate is owned by an Irish family, the Brennan family.
Really?
They own
Okay.
Mr. B's Bistro. They own Commander's Palace. They own, oh my God, like 8 more.
Yeah.
And they're all the top restaurants in the city, and have Brennan's. Yeah.
That's so
and,
awesome.
And they rule. And
Yeah.
that was from these guys, get in your corner of the world over here.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Yeah.
And then see what you can do with it,
Yeah.
So, but you're right, that melting pot of all of that cuisine. I remember working at a catering company as I was in my teenage years, and these weren't chefs. These were black women that cooked, and the food. Oh my God! When I put it in my mouth, I was just like, "What? I want to marry you."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, and it was just the food was just so awesome, and that's what New Orleans is all about: is taking those different mixes and and putting them all together and laying that cuisine out.
Yeah.
Man, when you get it, that's home.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's love.
Yeah. I mean, when I first interviewed with you, you kind of gave me the lowdown on, the difference between Creole and Cajun.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit since we're on the subject?
Yeah. So it's real simple. Cajun is like where I'm from.
Yeah.
In the bayou.
Yeah.
We're the country people, so to speak.
Yeah.
Except we're not really country. We're more swamp rats.
Yeah.
The country people are even like further up north of New Orleans is Yankee country.
Okay. All right.
But so but your Creole cuisine is from the inner city.
Yeah.
So if I was going to make a gumbo and I was Cajun, I would start with oil, okay?
Yeah.
Cooking oil and flour.
Yeah.
If I was going to make a Creole gumbo, I would start with butter
Yeah.
and flour.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between those flavors, just to start with.
Yeah. So the Creole is much more French influenced
and refined,
Caribbean influence, and
African, West African. Actually, gumbo, the word is okra.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and so the West African recipe, they didn't make a roux. What they did was they would take okra and grind it up, and you know how gummy and thick that okra can get.
Yeah.
And then they would also do like a fish head.
Yeah.
And just like grind it in
yeah.
and grind it in and make a roux, so to speak, or something really thick.
Yeah.
And then that would be their base.
Wow.
That's the original West African recipe.
That's badass, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I know.
Yeah.
Yep. Now when you see me bring out the mortar and pestle, you can blame Chef Tim, right? No, but it's it is important to say that refinement is like, that's what I love in cooking, like, or at least in terms of the craft of cooking,
right?
Like taking that, right, and then turning it into something new, a bit refined, a bit elevated, and then over the years, there's these tiny little changes. It's really the same recipe, and you're using the same like ingredients,
right?
But it's just like that much better.
Yeah,
like your etouffee, man,
right?
Dude, your etouffee, man,
right?
Like it's you can't beat that type of cooking,
right?
Like, I don't know, it's just tradition doesn't start from nowhere. Tradition starts from the last tradition, and then we made these tiny tweaks.
Exactly.
So,
and a good example of that was the jambalaya recipe that I had when I first started.
Yeah.
And then I watched John Besh add different peppers. He's from New Orleans, of course. And I had some poblano peppers left over.
Yeah.
And I started throwing poblanos in there. Wow.
Yeah.
Did that make a difference?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it exactly traditionally, As long as it makes it better, then it's okay.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, and it's the best I've ever had. So,
I had people. And, I had a lot of Louisiana people come in.
Yeah.
And for the most part, 99.9% of them, they were like, dude, and that meant a lot to me to have homies come in and say, you hit it. You hit the mark. You did it.
Yeah.
But I've had people also in Louisiana, especially, again, that's the difference between Creole and Cajun. I've had Cajun people come in, where's the sticky rice? This, this gross, for a jambalaya or whatever else. And I used basmati because basmati holds up longer. It
Yeah.
lasts, the full hour of service. You
Yeah.
know, I don't have to worry about making more rice.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're running a restaurant, you have to cut the cost, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, so I was just like, dude, I'm not going to argue with you. I agree, it's not, Cajun. All right.
Right.
But
I'm a heretic. Get over it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, just and this one guy would not let up on it, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You want to come and buy my rice? I'll make it for you, but
Yeah. Well, then we had somebody working there from the city proper.
Oh, yeah.
And he loved it.
Right.
He was like, you're
Right.
killing it. I can't even do the accent, dude. But
Right.
I love it. You gotta have that drawl. But,
Right.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. What you were doing there was freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, we had good parties too.
Sorry, I was just.
That's all right.
Time. Yeah, you're good.
Enjoyed the boils, the crawfish boils. Doing the alligator.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about what you did with the alligator, what you do with the boils, and what you do with the suckling pigs and the pig roast.
Right,
and let's
right.
get into it, man. Let's
Okay.
talk about everything that you were doing. So.
Yeah. So the I like. At first, when I first started the food truck, I was like, okay, well, what's gonna make it unique? And they're gonna. I had an alligator on the side of the food truck as a picture to Cajun to go.
Yeah.
So let's get some alligator.
Yeah.
So I bought some, and I was like, well, and this is a protein I'd never worked with before.
Yeah.
And it was tough.
Yeah, I bet.
And I would sit there with a mallet and put it in a bag and smack.
Oh, really?
And I mean, just tenderize it all to beat the band, and it was still just not where I needed it to be.
Yeah, it's a fucking dinosaur.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
So, culinary school introduced me to a method, and then, of course, by watching the Food Network, you learned about sous vide.
Yeah.
It's like, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Sure enough, boy, tender.
You sous vide'd your fucking alligator?
Yeah,
I did not
yeah,
know that,
yeah.
and that's awesome.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Yeah.
Then we would smoke it. Now, the whole alligators that we cooked, we were not able to sous vide, obviously.
Yeah.
So I brined it for 2 days.
Yeah.
In crawfish boil.
Okay.
The seasoning that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
boil crawfish in.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other, seasonings. And then I put it in a smoker, and I would slow smoke it and wrap it with Peterson Farms. I'm not ashamed to bring him up. He's got the best meat out
I
here.
plan on having him on as soon as possible.
Yeah.
He's super.
Yeah, bring
he's
him
actually
in.
super
Yeah.
busy right now.
Yeah, I'm
so,
sure.
Yeah. But I'll put your information in the links, and I'll just make sure I dot my I's, cross my T's. But
Yeah,
definitely, dude. So you'd wrap it in Peterson Farm bacon, right?
Yeah, right. That heritage pork beam. Oh my God,
Dude.
And then so I was trying to get some of these. They have these claws.
Yeah.
And you can take the carcass and then just pull the meat off of it.
Yeah.
But I could never purchase those on Amazon because they were always out.
Yeah.
So I went to Ace Hardware, and the gardening hooks? I purchased some of those. Cleaned them up nicely, and then after smoking it with that wrapped bacon for hours and hours and hours, we used apple and pecan wood, and it was just so tender and so delicious. Yeah, unbelievable,
Dude, I love that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I never got the opportunity to try that specific, but it sounds phenomenal. And one thing that people don't realize, like when you say it's tough as nails to work with, that's kind of like how good food gets made, is you take the bare bones of what you're given. It's
right.
Like, I watched a documentary on barbecue years and years ago, and it was like, it was started really by slaves who were given the kind of the
scraps.
The scraps.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck do we do with this?
Right.
And they made like one of the greatest, feats of
Yeah,
cooking
that's-
ever. Like ribs, dude. Like
Yeah.
you just wouldn't think
Right.
to do that.
And that's absolutely
originally.
what happened with plantation owners and the slaves.
Yeah.
That were doing the work. They were left with the hog jows and the ears, the pig's ears.
Yeah.
But they converted that stuff and changed all of that stuff into food. And ham hocks, man. I've done some dishes with sweet potato and smoked ham hocks, and that stuff just falls off the bone. I mean, with some black eyed peas, stupid, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress on that.
Oh no, man. This is a food show, man. I love it.
So all of our boils, our boils started off really early with the food truck and became extremely popular, especially with the breweries. You know? Okay, you're going to sell lots of beer.
Yeah.
You're going to, have an outdoor event, and you're going to have live music.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just like Louisiana right there.
Right. Yeah.
So we started out, and this brewery's not even around anymore. Oh man. Ooh. All right. Well, we did do, while I'm trying to think of it, we did do Summit Brewing.
Yeah.
We did Fulton.
Yeah.
We did Steel Toe. Harriet. There it is.
Yeah.
Harriet Brewing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't exist anymore, but, and I'm continuously still, to this day, getting emails and getting asked to do crawfish boils, even by some of the breweries today.
Yeah.
So that's something, once COVID, we're going to try to get some parties going.
Well, let's take a break and then let's go into what the plan is post COVID.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a general plan.
Right,
Let's talk
right,
about it a
right.
little bit. The future. The
Right.
hope, Okay, first, before we get into the third part here, I want to just showcase my new haircut, because honestly, my barber's killing it, and I'm gonna put his link in the YouTube. That's kind of what I like to do with the show, is just like showcase certain stuff. But I mean, the fade is sick. Anyways, he's got the hard part in there. Haircuts by John G's over at St. Coast Barbershop, and he's a dope ass dude, and he keeps getting better and better. Another person who's like into the craft, you know what I mean? I think he went to like Denmark to learn his stuff and all that.
Wow.
So he's a cool dude. I just wanted to drop that real quick before we get back into stuff. Yeah. So what were we talking about? We were talking about boils, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so we went through the breweries, and then once the bistro started, then the food truck quit.
Yeah.
Mainly because I couldn't control the staff going out and the truck.
Yeah.
And they would come back and they would be finished. And I'm like, no, we have a whole night's worth of service. You're not done.
Yeah.
But so it was just like, okay, well, no, we can't have that.
Yeah.
So we started doing boils in the bistro.
Yeah.
And it got at first it got a little kiboshed by the county, and they wanted to kind of restrict it to where it was only on individual tables. In Louisiana, and at the breweries, we were able to boil everything: crawfish, shrimp, crab, the corn on the cob, the andouille sausage, the potatoes, everything, any vegetables, and just dump it on the table, and everybody just ate and drank beer and had a good time. But they were afraid of people touching and that, so then we had to restrict it to and that's why you saw it at the bistro, where it was only a husband and a wife, or maybe a table of 4 or a table of 6, and so we had to keep it down to that, which makes it more cumbersome because you have to weigh everything out and count it and then put it. So the wife and I are just like, so it got better as time went on. We'd put it all on a speed rack and cart it in, But it became a challenge, but it was still such a blast and a good way to introduce, the New Orleans and Louisiana cuisine to everyone. A lot of people had the spices, hit them right in the face. They're like, whoa, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the cool thing that I noticed about all the cooking that you did. Like the people would come up, from sometimes your hometown or, or close to it. And they'd be like, oh man, this is just like down there.
Right.
And then, but also at the same time, like you can't ever tell that Minnesota people don't want,
It's
spectacular
spicy.
food
because they do.
They came in and they ate the shit out of your food, dude.
Exactly.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah,
It was very
yeah.
cool. So, like, in a post-COVID world, what I've noticed with this show, right? The show has kind of like it's taken me on a journey, right?
Right.
I've talked in depth with chefs, with farmers, with people from all walks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of come up with this idea of like the more elevated food. You got your Lexingtons, you got your Spoon and Stables,
Sure.
right? They're going to have to like kick it down a notch, right? But at the same time, you have your food truck food, you have your kind of the people who are working from the ground,
Right.
like I know this gal, she's working out of West St. Paul, Wet Tacos, right? And she's elevating her food, she's learning how to plate the food better, right? And she's calling people that I know and chefs that I've worked with to elevate her food. And they're
Right.
kind of meeting in the middle. And one thing that I've seen a lot, especially it was before COVID hit.
Right,
Or not
right.
not before COVID hit, but before the winter hit,
Okay.
were these events. Right? Like I went out to Iron Shoe Farms,
Okay.
and it's like a small family-owned farm, and then I
Right.
interviewed the farmer, Carla Mertz. I'll put her info in the underneath because she's selling mangalitzas or a mix of mangalitza pig with something else. So it's
Ooh.
like the best marbling.
Sure.
She said
Oh,
it.
wow.
She's like, you cut into it and it's like it looks like a ribeye because
Wow.
of the marbling. It's like, what? No, that's
Yeah.
pork. That shouldn't happen.
Right.
But what they're doing out at Iron Shoe is she'll have 4 chefs come out
Sure.
and they'll use stuff from her farm or
Right.
from farms in the county,
Right.
and they'll make a whole day of it, and
Yeah.
then they'll sell tasting tickets.
Sure.
So you kind of
I talked
spotted
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get into it,
Yeah,
man. What are
actually,
you thinking?
Yeah, there's several routes, and I think if we don't get out of this, so to speak, and let's hope we do.
Yeah.
Or even if we do.
Yeah.
Now we have to rethink a lot about how we're doing things in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. So a chef's got to get not only thinking, what he needs to do next, he's got to go way outside the box.
Yeah. Yep.
And there is a farm near my house.
Yeah.
I'm already talking to them about exactly what you're talking about. It's unusual that you touch on that. But
It's not unusual. It's
yeah.
the universe bringing us together, man. You know that.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know if I ever shared a portion of my goal.
Yes, you did. Let's get into this. Yeah.
All right.
Please.
Okay. So let's say, for instance, we have 5 acres of land.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can have 2 pigs roasting over here.
Yeah.
And someone's bought tickets into that.
Yeah.
There's right in the middle, there's a bonfire going.
Yeah.
The sun's going down a little bit.
Yeah.
But we're still good,
Yeah. I'm there right now.
There's a crawfish boil going on over here. People have bought tickets for
Yeah.
that. Okay. Band is playing over here.
Yeah.
There's, areas where people can still separate and still have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they bought tickets to, and then there's even some roasted vegetables for those who just want a bunch of kick-ass vegetables from the garden,
Right.
and lots of them.
Yeah.
We're not going to skimp even for the vegetarian.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So thinking outside the box like this, and it may be just one of these events, or it may be all of these events.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's renting an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And there's 6 couples, and we do a 5-course meal.
Yeah. Dude, those are 2. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Those are 2 great ideas.
Right.
Okay. So here's the thing: there are all these workarounds that people are already finding with the
Pop
laws,
up.
right?
Yeah.
Well, like even with certain patios, right? Like to elongate the patio because you're allowed certain seating on the patio.
Sure.
They just put tents around it and then
Right.
put heaters in the tents.
Exactly.
So like technically it's still a patio, so they can still have the seating on the patio. It's like all these different workarounds so that you can stay safe and
Right.
that but you can still operate.
Exactly.
Now the events, dude, I can definitely I can give you some people that have done them and just talk about like because obviously it's like there's certain laws and
Exactly, and you check all the boxes on that,
dude,
and then go.
Yeah,
you know.
And okay, I'm just excited. I don't know if you saw my face, but I was like, I'm not attracted to you. I'm attracted to the idea. Okay,
Right.
let's settle down, Chef. But it was, I mean, dude,
Yeah.
that's a sexy idea,
Right,
man.
right.
That's what people want.
Right.
They don't want. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but they don't want to go and eat alone with themselves.
Sure, no,
and
that's
the whole fucking date night shit. I can tell you it's dead. Right? I can tell you it's dead. I've worked in the places that the people that are going out and eating like that
Right.
are. It's just, I mean, there's people going on dates, but
Right,
you get what
sure.
I'm saying, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's just this new generation. They want the community.
Exactly.
They're starved for the community.
Sure.
Like when they'd come out to the crawfish boils. It was like people were partying. I mean,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
on cloud 9.
Do you remember Mardi Gras?
Oh, dude.
So anyway,
Yeah.
yes, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Chefs need to think, okay, what else can I, it's got to be something different. If you can't let me cook inside of these 4 walls
Yeah.
and it's too cold to put the food truck out there,
Yeah.
then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a cooking class on how to make gumbo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to do something.
I'm going to do a podcast.
Well, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? But then no,
Sure.
This is definitely an example of that same way of thinking. Is like I call it restaurant adjacent.
Right.
I'm adjacent to the restaurants right now. You know,
Right.
like I'm gonna be cooking in my A shirt. You know,
Right.
online for the Patreon members and
Sure.
and buying merch and bringing people closer to things like traditional New Orleans cooking.
You're on it, man. Yeah.
Dude.
You totally got it. And it's good for everybody in the community to plug into this.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I love it. Speaking
Yeah.
of plugs, will you grab your book and we'll get it
Oh.
closer to the camera?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so
Where do you?
here.
There.
Yeah, I'll get it real close. And then I'll get a picture and I'll put it up in post too. But
This one is packed full of the best recipes. I mean, there's sometimes you buy a book maybe this size and you might get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
No, every freaking one of these are good.
dude,
you
I
know?
have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know I have it. I
Yeah.
mean, my mom got it, but
Yeah.
it's know
Right.
I use it.
Right.
We make, and I'm impressed because it's like you get these cookbooks, right? Like the cookbooks behind me.
Right.
It's you got to know your shit
Right.
to make that, right?
Right.
Like I got a Madison Park book one time and they're like, you can do everything in this if you're disciplined. I'm like, no you can't. Dude, you're like you're doing
Right.
spherifications and all this shit.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
no, okay, if you have $3,000 to buy the equipment, maybe.
Right.
But that I can make everything in that
Right.
from my house. You've
That's it.
simplified it. You've showed people how to do
I
it.
have to
Dude.
say, my wife is totally responsible for putting it in writing.
Oh yeah.
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 Because
love
I
that.
wouldn't have had the discipline. Yeah.
But
so
that's kind of the secret, man. Lori's been
Yeah.
there the whole time.
Yeah,
I mean,
behind the scenes, that
Lori's-
girl's the bomb.
She's badass, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, mad respect to her.
Yeah.
But in terms of the book, man, I mean, I got to give her props because my mother, who is a good cook,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not, she's not like me. She's not like constantly doing it.
Sure.
She's been able to make everything in there, man.
Yeah. Good.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's an
that's-
awesome book.
yeah.
So where can people get that?
You have to go online. I do believe, yes, you can either go to CajunToGo.com
Yeah. Yeah.
or you could go to bistrolarue.com.
Okay.
Both of them are still live. I believe we're going to center more towards Cajun to go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
obviously.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
But I still have such a huge following on Bistro. I haven't really caught on how to
How to like
yeah
forward that.
Let's get that over here.
Yeah.
Because we're getting ready to open up as soon as everything else opens up. We're getting ready to do something again.
That's so awesome, dude. I'm so excited to hear that. And you know that my phone number is always available, so I'm down to throw down anytime.
Heard.
I love you, Chef. All right. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right.
Dude, this was awesome. and we can definitely do it again, especially like when you're starting to open stuff back up. Maybe we'll pop it back on and just kind of remind people what's going on.
You might have to do something live, come out to a boil or a fade odo.
Hell yeah, dude. All right. Laissez, le bon temps, rouler.
Hey, there you go, baby.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right.